sent me over some gorgeous water wave hair, and I was about to go ahead and make my wig and teach you guys how to make a wig. And then I remembered the subscriber who came on one of my comments the other day and was like, sis, we get it, we know how to make a wig, teach us about the lace. So I decided today's going to be a lace 101 tutorial. I'm literally going to walk you through every single step and give you every single option there is about your lace frontals. So again, this is some beautiful water wave hair. I'll get into the lengths and all that a little bit later of the bundles, but today so before we get started, make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button and also turn on your post notifications. Now let's get into the tutorial. So this here is a lace frontal. You can also call it a lace frontal closure. Now if you want an actual closure, typically those come 4x4, so they'll be like here to here and then here to here, so to speak. This right here is a standard lace frontal, and this typically comes 13 by 4 inches. In this case here, this one here is pretty much like slightly pre-plucked, and kind of what that means, you kind of see right here where this is where the real hair starts, but you can kind of see it's a little bit lighter in front. Typically when a company will send you a lace, if it's pre-plucked, it'll be kind of like this, so that it's not super dense and Barbie doll hair. You can also see that the hair isn't like straight across. It kind of does like a zigzag thing going across, and they do give you a little bit of baby hair. So from here we kind of want to decide how are we going to do the knots. So most of the times when you go into the parting, you will see these black dots all throughout, and those are the knots that connect the hair to the lace. We want to make those invisible. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled out the mannequin head. This is going to assist me in showing you guys exactly how to customize. So most of the time our heads from here to here are not 13 inches. So a lot of times you guys will ask me, how do you measure your head? I have this paper or material measuring tape. I've literally had this since like waist trainers first came out. I used to be snatched, honey. My waist used to be snatched, believe it or not, and I used to measure my waist, and the smallest I got, it was like 21 inches, and I was trying to go smaller back in the day before kids. Anyway, basically I'm going to start the one right behind my ear. I'm going to take it across. Okay, turning on the kitchen light. And probably to the same amount, and I'm going to measure how big mine is. And pretty much I'm a little bit past 12, or if we flip it around, I'm a little bit past 12. What that means is that the frontal is about to the 13 point, which means that I'm going to probably end up cutting off about this much. If you watch my videos, you guys know when I grow my ear, it's always like a little tiny piece. So it definitely makes sense that basically each time I cut my lace or customize it, I'm typically cutting off about ½ an inch. And when I throw my frontal on my head, just to kind of measure, you can kind of see that there's like a little piece here and a little piece here. If you can see that when you cut these two pieces off and put them together, it's probably gonna, now some people will go ahead and measure their head and then measure an inch or ½ an inch on each side and cut it off right away. I like to make my wig with the exact amount of lace and not cut it until like the wig is completely made. And once I put the wig on for the final fitting, after I've attached this to and made a complete wig, that's kind of when I go in and custom cut it around my ears. So it's definitely up to you. We're gonna go ahead and place your frontal onto a wig head, so that we can go ahead and customize it to our liking. So you kind of want to pull it taut all the way around, that way you can see every aspect of it. This is not how you would apply the lace to your wig. You just want to pull it taut so that you're able to go in and tweeze every aspect and it's not bulky or moving or lifting. Okay, let's jump right into the fun part, the customization. So first of all, get the hair out of the way. You can pin it up, you can braid it, you can put it in a bun, whatever suits you. I'm going to take a water bottle and just spray the frontal down really good. I want the hairline to be super wet. Anytime you're plucking or tweezing, I find that it's best to have it extremely wet and then brush it so you can see like your palette and basically what you're doing much better. You also get the flyaways out of the way and you can see exactly what you're you're doing. When the hair is dry, you can still customize it, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like you have a clean palette, you can see exactly where you're going, you can, you know, the hair comes out a little bit better as you tweeze. I just feel like all around, like, if I'm tweezing a hairline out, it's not the same unless it's wet. And you guys can also see every time I pull enough hair out, you can kind of see where that area gets a little bit thinner. Now in this case, I don't really have a rhyme or reason. I want to thin out the entire area equally. Like, I don't want to make a specific area thinner or bald. I just want to equally pull out enough strands to make the entire thing thinner, if that makes any sense. So kind of pull on the excess lace, and this is kind of a reason why you don't want to cut off that excess lace to the very end, because as you can see, in the entire time that I am tweezing the hairline, I'm gonna tug or hold on to the excess lace kind of to pull it taut, so that as I'm tweezing the hair, the tweezers, nothing is like flying, you know, everywhere. Everything is in place and I can see exactly where I'm tweezing, and it kind of just gives me a little bit more control, if that makes any sense. Now as you tweeze, you just go ahead and continue to brush the area backwards, because sometimes you're tweezing and you're pulling the hair and it's technically coming out of the lace, but it may still just sit there and give you the illusion that the area is a little bit more fuller than what it is. So if you kind of continue to brush the hair, you know, in the opposite direction and kind of pull that hair away, you can see exactly what is there. And if it takes you a while, go ahead and, you know, re-wet the area if it gets dry. That way you can continue to be able to see and have the best opportunity to get the best finish. Now, I find personally that I just love to tweeze the hairline much better on my head. I feel like I can see exactly what I'm doing. I feel like I'm less likely to make a mistake, because sometimes when you see a frontal on the mannequin head and you're just tweezing and tweezing and tweezing away, you might accidentally overpluck and you might have a different vision of what it is opposed to what it really is on your head, if that makes any sense. So if you feel like you are at a point where you're not really sure, just go ahead and tweeze out a little bit to make it into baby hair. At this point, I will go ahead and form the baby hair using mousse, and I will just kind of use my, you know, baby hair brush to and a pair of scissors to trim down the hair, or the baby hair, just as short as I want it. Go ahead and form it, and then just leave it for a few hours to form. That way that hair will be trained to basically be baby hair and go in the opposite direction. In this case, I want to continue the video right now, so I went ahead and brushed the entire frontal, and that ball of hair is what came out directly from tweezing hair. So that's about the amount of hair that I tweezed out. Now here is the wig cap that I'm going to use. I have it linked down below. Sometimes I use the mesh one, sometimes I use the spandex ones. As of right now, I had like 2 of the mesh ones left, so that's what I used. Honestly, I don't really have a preference between the two. I kind of just go back and forth. Now to apply your frontal to your wig, as you've seen before, I went ahead and I just lined up the frontal with the hairline of the cap, and I kind of pulled it ever so slightly in front of the cap. Basically, I pulled the baby hair area in front of the cap, if that makes any sense. And I used a T-pin in the front of the frontal and the back of the frontal to secure it to the cap, making sure I kind of pulled it pretty tight so that it's not flimsy or moving or loose. Then I took the left side and I pulled it down to make sure it felt tight. Now I'm pulling the right side, and you can see when I flip the flaps, first of all, you can see that it lays super flat and it's not bulky, it's not going to move or anything like that. And you can also see where I line it up in the T-pin ends is literally where the ribbon of the frontal ends. And the ribbon is just that little, you know, tan piece that is basically where I'm sewing. Where the ribbon of the frontal ends is where the cap ends. And anything below that is pretty much just lace, if that makes any sense. So I prefer to use nylon thread. I just feel like it lays flatter. It's easier to use. But you can use the normal one. I believe the normal one is like polyester or cotton or something like that. Whichever one you have access to, use that. Don't feel like you have to go and buy specifically what someone else has. Because to be honest, when I ran out of nylon a couple of weeks ago, I used a backup of the one from Sally's. I believe it's polyester, and that one kind of gave me issues. Like sometimes I feel like it knots up like midway through sewing, which is frustrating. Sometimes I feel like it's a little bit more bulky. But at the same time, when I first started using the nylon thread, I also had the same problems where I felt like it would knot up and it would just do different things. So it's all about preference. I feel like ultimately if you use both over time and you got used to the nylon and you got used to the other one, you probably would like the nylon more. But again, no one's going to look at your wig and say, oh, she used nylon thread, or oh, she used polyester. No one knows but you, and it's all about preference on how it feels to you. So at this point I'm done. You can see that little piece of ribbon on the opposite side when I flip it up, and that's pretty much how I told you guys I'm going to have about an inch of cap that I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut that at the very end. When I'm done, typically the way it shows, it's like a flap in the front, and you can kind of see it makes a M because I have that pin in the center. And that kind of lets me know that I did it right. Like if that area where the excess lace is super flat, 9 times out of 10, my wig is not going to come out right. And it's just always like that. Even on the sides, you can see the sides are laid perfectly so that when I want to use the side like above my ear, that lace lays super flat on my wig when it's all said and done. Now here are my bundles. Again, this hair comes from VIP hair. This hair is so gorgeous. I have all the details listed in the description box, but look how beautiful this wavy textured hair is. It is so beautiful. It's so full of luster. Since I've made the wig, I've went ahead and co-washed the hair just to get rid of the buildup. And here I'm showing you I'm starting at 9:48 or 9:38, whatever it was, and I stopped at 10:38. I did stop in between to go ahead and take care of my kids for a minute, so it took me about 40 minutes to make the wig in all. After I did lay down the frontal, and as you guys can see, it is perfect. My canvas mannequin head is exactly 21 inches, and that's the size of my head. So the wig came out exactly perfect to my head, like exactly. Now here I am cutting off the excess cap. Because you laid that frontal on top of a cap and you sewed it on, what was beneath that frontal has to come out, if that makes any sense. No, I went ahead and cut it in the center, which messed me up because I wasn't thinking. But as you guys can see, if I would have never cut it in the middle and I would have cut it around, I could have just cut this whole thing out from ear to ear, and it would have been an elastic band. So if you need an elastic band for your wig, just cut it out ear to ear. Don't cut it down the center, and you have an elastic band. Now this is what the wig looks like. Now obviously, here I'm showing you it fits super tight. It's not loose, it's not big, it fits amazing. Even like right now I don't need an elastic band. I also go ahead and add one just because once you cut that excess lace off, it will fit a little bit looser, and you want it to fit super tight considering you want the hairline to lay extremely flat, but the back lays flat, it fits flat and perfect and everything. So now I'm going to take my powder. I'm choosing to use the Maybelline Fit Me, and I want to put this on the lace before I add the elastic band just because it's easier, but you can do it after, whatever floats your boat. You can also seal this in by using a holding spray. You can use the Blast Free spray from Got to Be Glued, a spritz or whatever, just to seal in this color. And this color isn't going to technically bleach the knots, but it is going to kind of tint the lace to be the color of your skin tone. Now if you do pack it on super duper duper thick, it will start to make the knots disappear as well, but mostly ultimately you just want the lace to blend with your skin tone. So because I ruined my elastic band that came with the wig built in, I'm going to just use some elastic, and I have this link down below. This is my absolute favorite. Excuse my braids, I just have 2 braids in the back and I didn't even care to tie them up real good. So I measured how much I needed from ear to ear. Now I kind of line it up. You see where the elastic on the wig in the back is? I pretty much will line it up exactly with that going the opposite way. Now I didn't do it perfect. It is a little bit different. And ultimately after I made the wig, I ended up going back off and cutting off one side of the elastic and trimming it about 1 inch shorter because it was a little bit too loose. So don't be afraid. Like once you've added the elastic, you can take it off as many times as you need to and redo it until it makes your frontal like super flat and it makes your wig feel more tight and secure, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I do have a detailed elastic band tutorial on my channel. I'll have that link down below if you want more details. I also have a tutorial on how to bleach the knots down below. I have a tutorial on how to make a wig hot glue method down below, and I also have a tutorial on how to make a wig the sew method down below. So whatever you need, I got you.
And this is pretty much what it looks like. You guys can see the elastic was a little bit loose or big. Now midway through when I was customizing, I went ahead and cut the excess lace a little bit, but I never cut the excess lace completely off until after the wig is on my head. I just feel like I get better results when it's on my head. Just a personal preference, but a lot of people do cut the excess lace off while the wig is like off their head, and I don't have an issue with that. I just feel more comfortable and I feel like I get the best results when I do so. I forgot to show you guys and hold it up, but you guys kind of can see how much lace on each side I cut off, and it pretty much was half, like maybe half an inch on each side, half to a quarter inch on each side, which kind of matches up with the idea that my head is 12 inches in the front, so it kind of made sense. Now here I am just cleaning it up. You may have pieces on there that kind of like roll up or uneven, but ultimately this is what the hair looks like. This is before I co-washed it. I've co-washed it since I made this video and it's still the exact same texture. It doesn't tangle up or do anything crazy. I did make this wig with 3.5, almost 4 bundles and a frontal, so it's very, 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 very full, very gorgeous. It's going to keep you warm in the wintertime, so to speak. Now, how I secure my wigs is the Got to Be Glue spray. I find this to be the quickest, easiest way to do on a daily basis. And all you do is just literally spray it across your hairline where your wig is going to lay. You let it dry for about 15 to 20 seconds, sometimes a little bit longer if you put a lot, and then you go ahead and lay the frontal on top and just hold it there till it's completely dry, and it will stay, it will lay down, and your lace will look super flawless. Now here you can kind of see the work I did when I tweezed out the hairline. I didn't want it to be extremely bald, but I wanted it to be bald. Like the way I feel like when you want that Instagram baby hair, it's almost like the objective is to bald your lace a little bit, which is why sometimes when you see me do my frontals and it's still a little bit full and you're like, it's too full, because sometimes your frontal will shed over time, especially if you bleach the knots. And in that case, if you bleach the knots and then you get the frontal down to about this fullness, I can almost guarantee that within a week or two, this area right here will be completely bald. And that's just the name of the game when it comes to bleaching and dyeing your frontals, which is why sometimes if you can find a powder that blends with your skin very well, may be a better option for you. It's all about preference, but if you're looking for longevity, I definitely will let you know and warn you that bleaching your knots will thin your frontal. So if you bleach your knots and then go ahead and tweeze it on top of that, you may have an issue. If you bleach your knots and you kind of thin it out just a little bit, like less than this, you may be okay for a little while. But that's just a heads up and a bit of a tip. Now I'm just using an edge booster to go ahead and swoop my baby hair. Everybody has a different preference on how they like their baby hair. For me, I find that I make it like this and it kind of looks thick, but when you see at the very end, after I add the powder to kind of conceal those knots you see in between, and I do everything that I do, this is going to look completely different. So you'll see that in just a moment. Now off camera I went ahead and styled the hair, but this is the hair and how gorgeous it looks. I didn't even need to part it because it's so gorgeous and it looks so natural.
Okay, so before I go ahead and touch on the frontal, I just want to take a moment to appreciate this gorgeous water wave hair. This hair is so pretty. Of course, I love to wear black, so you never get to see the texture as good as you should be, but this hair is so pretty. It's a nice natural wave, water wave actually. All I did was I added water at the beginning, and then at the very end I just went ahead and added a little bit of this, and this is called Wet. You guys know this is one of my holy grail styling products for my natural wave, water wave, curly textured hair. So the lengths I have in are 22, 24, 26, 26, and then I also have a 20-inch 13x4 lace frontal as I showed you guys in the beginning. I definitely did pack the tracks on, but even then I was not able to fit the all of the 4th bundle, so I would say I used about 3.5 bundles. Now what we're here for is the frontal. You guys seen I did the baby hair and it looked hella full, and it also looked like it was stuck down. As you guys can see, the hairs are starting to loosen up. I am going to cut them in half about to here because I did choose to keep them long, but as you guys can see, when I first swooped the baby hair, it was like, whoa, that is too much, but now it looks a little bit more natural. It's just a little bit more long than I normally would like. What? So hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick tutorial featuring my hair from VIPbeauty. Don't forget to check them out. I have all the information on this wig or the hair listed in the description box. Also, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share with your friends. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.